All right, the pending $69 billion deal between Microsoft and Activision getting a big boost yesterday, but still needs to clear another hurdle. That is the UK competition regulators in order to complete the deal by July 18th, the deadline. For more on the latest, I want to bring in Brent Thill, Jefferies' senior analyst. Brent, obviously this news here yesterday, great news, a big win for Microsoft. My question, though, is what this means for the broader tech landscape and some of the deal activity that we could see as a result of this ruling.
We think it opens the floodgates for more M&A. There's no question that anyone that was looking at doing M&A was looking at the Microsoft transaction with Activision. They were looking at Broadcom, VMware. They're looking at Adobe, Figma. All these deals are in a holding pattern. And if we can get these deals closed, we think ultimately it's just going to open up more confidence to make the move forward. So good news, I think, is starting to prevail that ultimately, if it's good for the consumer, the government can't just block everything. And right now the government's been in a block everything. And as we've said repeatedly, in many of these examples, these deals are actually good for consumers. They're good for pricing. They're good for choice. And ultimately, as long as the consumer's not hurt, the government can't take a stance of it's bad for everyone. It's not a good stance. And that's been the stance that's been taken, which is block everything. And so every investor's like, look, nothing's ever going to get done again. That doesn't make any sense. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for consumers. It's not good for everything. Certainly, we're okay for deals getting blocked when they're not going to be good for the end markets. But in these situations, I think everyone was scratching their head how the government was gonna have a block on all these transactions. So certainly don't expect everything's gonna fly through. There's going to be ongoing scrutiny. There's going to be other scrutiny outside the United States that these companies have to go through. But for us, the overall sign is this is going to be a really good thing. And M&A is a good cleansing process. We've gone through a huge cycle where a lot of companies have gone public. A lot of companies are operating, and they just would be stronger together. And so I think this is a cleanse process we need to go through, and it helps restore confidence back into tech as well for a lot of other names.
With that said, Brent, what are some areas within tech that you think are particularly ripe for M&A?
Well, I think if you look at in every one of these segments, you look at applications, you look at infrastructure software, you look at cybersecurity. I think that the new big one that we're starting to see is in AI. There are a lot of AI startups. They'll never get scale on their own. They need big balance sheets and users and data to get the scale. So we've seen actually some pretty interesting M&A deals in AI in just the last couple of weeks. And I think that will continue. So what I say is I think it's across the board. And if you look at, again, the deals that are out there, one's in gaming, one's in infrastructure, VMware, Broadcom. When you look at the Figma transaction and collaboration applications, I mean, they're kind of cutting across different segments. I think we're going to see it across all these end segments. I don't think there's one area that jumps out to us. I think there's kind of multiple areas of the tech stack that will get consolidated. Many of these areas will benefit from M&A returning.
But when it comes to this deal, Microsoft buying Activision, the fact that it looks like it is on track here, it is going to go through, it is going to close here potentially by that July 18th deadline. What does that then do to other players that are already within the gaming space? Meaning, I guess, how big of an advantage maybe does Microsoft and Activision have against the other names that maybe aren't as well positioned given this tie-up, like a EA, for example?
Yeah. I'm not the gaming analyst, but what I can see, at least out of my own kids' behavior, is it's not riding on one vendor. Their love and gamers' loves for content is spread all over. They could be small publishers, large publishers. So I don't think that there's a huge disadvantage if this goes through and it's going to be harder for others, a huge advantage. I think ultimately those that have the most creative content, and they're coming from upstarts and they're coming from other companies outside. I mean, if you look at the success of some of these other games like Fortnite, I mean, again, they're not coming from some of the core. They're coming outside Microsoft and others. So I think right now we're in a situation, again, when I talked about this earlier, we're in this natural cycle of consolidation. You're going to go through consolidation of the old school, but then it's going to spawn new companies. It's going to give room for new innovation, and those titles will come out of nowhere. Again, much like what we saw with AI, no one anticipated OpenAI to come with ChatGPT. Everyone thought, oh, that will come from Amazon, Google, or Microsoft, and it didn't come from any of them. It came from their own initiative, right? So my sense is that we're gonna start the cycle over again, and there's going to be excitement and independent platforms that really thrive, and that's been the case in a lot of the gaming companies for the last couple decades.
Brent, I know you've had strong thoughts about Twitter pre and post Elon Musk in the past. Now you've got Threads threatening potentially Twitter. At least we have seen that it's the most downloaded app, more than 100 million users. How do you think we should look at Threads in the context of Meta? Is this just an opportunistic play that will sort of drive incremental revenue with advertisers looking for a place, or is this going to be a bigger chunk of the business? Is that the ambition or the vision for Meta?
Well, I think, look, it's really exciting, and the pace of adoption is insane. I think it also speaks to Twitter, and I've said this repeatedly, really has a terrible user interface, and it's really hard to navigate the content. And there's a lot of stuff you don't want to see. And so ultimately, I think good for Meta and for Zuck taking on what has been a company that's really kind of had the platform out there with Twitter. I mean, it's just not usable for a lot of us that use it. It's hard. And so I think they can make it cleaner, more fun, and exciting, and it's part of your social graph. So you're going to learn more about what you actually want to learn about versus seeing pop-up ads for things you don't really even care about. And so I think this is, right now, it's really too early to make the call on monetization. We know the users are there. They're not providing advertisement on that platform yet. They will build the overall platform out and then add advertising. I think they're going to be super successful. Everyone counted out Reels. Oh, TikTok's going to kill them. It's over. And look at what's happened with Reels. Look at what's happened in other areas where everyone counted Meta out. And we think you never want to count them out given their scale and their scope of the billions of users across the planet. So we think it's going to be successful. I don't know when that starts to turn on because it's still really early, but we know that they will monetize this. And I'm sure advertisers are licking their chops. When you look at the number of celebrities, creative types, we look at the activity, the number of users that are already on the platform, I'm sure the advertisers are lining up outside. They're gonna have a big line to let those advertisers in when they make the call and are ready to go. So I've said this for years. Twitter needed some competition, and I think they finally got it here.
Maybe not exactly what they wanted to see. More than 100 million users here on Threads in less than a week. Certainly a very impressive milestone. All right, Brent Thill of Jefferies, thanks for your time.